This is Peggy Simingson, and I am sharing about how I provide orientation materials for my pre-service teachers in my course, and I'm going to be sharing my Blackboard creation that I've added to my course. I previously really didn't have any orientation materials for my online students, especially for those who are new to online learning. So my goal is to focus on 6 areas that I learned about in a workshop I took online through the Online Learning Consortium, OLC, and it was on supporting online learners. And the 6 areas were institutional technology and support, so like tech support, troubleshooting that, and how students can seek help when they need it. And then also the second area is the course website, which is Blackboard in my case, and the learning toolkit, so resources about that. Also, the third area is course content, so any key essential items that will help students grasp a quick overview of anything they need in the class, and that might be links to textbooks, etc. Also, self-directed learning skills. I love this area. I always give my students reading tips. Even though they are college students, I don't assume they've had study skills. Some have not. I give the reading tips to everybody on how to read your textbooks and just tips and advice for being aware of being an active reader. I also provide some other tips on being an online learner. And then 5th is online communication, so focusing on how to communicate when, how often, ways to reach the instructor. I use a couple ways. I use Edmodo, where students can post to a board and ask questions, and then I have a mobile app so I can quickly answer their questions on my phone without having to fully log into Blackboard. So just how can they reach you? They can reach me on Blackboard Instant Messenger also when I am logged in. And then also student services, so like the writing center or anything else they need to know. So let me just go through my materials, and then I have 2 other things I've added as low stakes week 1 assignments. So required reading, this is a little overview of what they need to do. So I say read these materials and tutorials, and then they have a little course plan where they are going to design how to approach the course. So again, being metacognitive, a little picture of a map here. So there was an orientation webinar. I always have some tools on how to log in. I post the link to join. I found this brain chart tutorial. It's a little 7-minute video on how to check all your audio and video before a webinar. I put the tech support here. Here's a picture from Blackboard of what it'll look like inside the webinar session, and it's all labeled. So if I say, look at the whiteboard, students know to look at the whiteboard and where it is and what I'm referring to. Or if I say, look in the chat window, they know it's at the bottom left. Also, this is what the mobile version looks like. It's the phone one didn't show up, but they can log in on a phone or a tablet that has the Blackboard Collaborate app. I also record it and post the link to the recording. The orientation webinar is optional. A reminder to read the syllabus and the overview welcome letter. I made a voice thread about the textbooks, and it's a couple minutes, and I just go through each one and tell why I picked it and what I hope they get out of it, and tips for reading it. Then I tell them how to post your picture, so I label it task, posting your picture. Here's for them how to upload their picture. This makes for a more personalized course. Task, download Blackboard Instant Messenger. So here's directions. They can write a hello note if they want to. Visuals to help scaffold. Task, post your formal introduction, post 5 or more comments. This is a very low stakes assignment to make sure they've indeed logged into Blackboard and that they're communicating with their classmates. And if they don't know how to post to a discussion board, I have a little tutorial that I found online on how to create a thread, etc. Just in case someone needs it. If they already know, they can skip that. Then they join Edmodo. This is another way to get a hold of me. And so I just have information here, step-by-step procedures on how to join. Then they post a hello comment in the area. This is a 1-sentence, low-stakes required assignment, no points, but just a way to kind of touch base and get on track with the class. This is something I found online. Dr. Sydney Eve Matrix created this success tips for taking an online course. It's right here in this slide share. It's really great. So just quick little tips with visuals. I like this idea of content morsels. There's a slide here. It says use content morsels and just read a little at a time if you're really busy. I also add my own tips. So direct advice really helps students stay on top of readings, email digital readings, and read on a mobile device. Just little hacks, little shortcuts, ways to take advantage of time is what I add. Check Blackboard daily. I always put that. Suggested cloud-based productivity tools. So, these are just tools students may know about, like Google Docs, Google Drive to back up your work. Evernote, you can save PDF files, send them to yourself and study if you have a few minutes here and there. If you're sitting waiting for an appointment, it's a great tool to pull up your work. And then Digo, social bookmarking site where you can post your links and even share them. Copyright tutorial is a quick read and helps them to understand what they can post and not post, especially like with pictures. And then here I get into the course content. So now I want them to have an optional reading, which is a glossary of terms, and I said print or download and save, skim through them, use them as needed, save for your future generalist test. This is just a resource. Some more resources, our TEKS or our state standards. Sometimes students forget where these are, so I make it very explicit. Here they are. You'll use these throughout the course. We're going to read an online resource called the Dyslexia Handbook. So here it is. Save it now so you won't have to hunt for it later. A couple of key websites. So every topic, every subject has like a few really good websites, the best of the best. So in my field, it's literacy. So I really like Reading Rockets. Colorín Colorado is a website for bilingual English language learners. Florida Center for Reading Research, and readwritethink.org. These are just ones every literacy person should know. There's more, but these are basics. Okay, this is kind of this is my favorite resource on the orientation. It's tips for reading and studying the required readings. Now you may think, students already know how to read. Well, some need a little boost, a little reminder, a few explicit tips. So I tell them how to read closely and carefully. I do not encourage skimming for these texts that they have to read, and I tell them why. It's building your foundational knowledge, your intellectual growth as a teacher, your exam is 1/3 language arts reading. I just lay it all out. And then I tell them what to do before reading, like eliminate distractions, set aside worries. So I get at staying mindful while reading, during reading and after reading. And then I tell them how to insert media or hyperlink in their posts. So now I'm getting away from content, just telling them how to communicate. Tech support, Blackboard. These are just student services that students can know about. And I find these online. Our university has great tutorials for students on Blackboard. And UTA resources, so I did a screenshot from the libraries, told them, you know what, you can check out a laptop for 3 days or a Surface tablet for 4 hours. And I think that's really cool, and I want them to know this. And some students may not know. Here's the Writing Center, here's the library, here's how to get the journal The Reading Teacher. There's just a ton of information here. It's better to have more information than not enough. Lesson planning, if they don't know enough about lesson planning. And then I just have more resources. That's kind of it. So some of these are optional, but I like to put them out there. So finally, students work on a course plan. So I tell them, please read all the resources. And then there's 3 parts, a checklist for some basic tasks, like read the syllabus, when did you complete this? Familiarize yourself with Blackboard, when did you complete this? Enter all due dates, etc. Get your books, just kind of basic stuff with screenshots in here. And then I have them think about, okay, where are you going to study? What tools will you use? What's your approach? And then number 5 is really essentially getting at, are they an experienced online learner? or do they need support from you? And that helps you to know your students. Reminder to contact me if needed. And then last of all, this metacognition section. How will you organize your work digitally, get them to think about digital folders, saving their work, etc. And then if you plan on sharing ideas, how can you do this? And then lastly, how can you try out and apply what you are learning? So I really want my students to be metacognitive. I want them to know about resources they may not know of, and I want them to review resources just in case they forgot. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. Email me if you have any questions, peggys@uta.edu, and I am also on Facebook and Twitter.